Archie, Archie's here, Betty's here, Veronica too.
Hey Betty, how's your new job at Intel going?
It's going really very interesting. Right now I'm currently interested in knowing about the microprocessor industry. You are in that industry, right? Can you give me more details about it?
Hey, do you want to know about the ARM and Intel thing that's going on right now?
That sounds interesting. Tell me about it.
Right, to put it in short, a laptop that I have in my hand, it runs on the 8086 from Intel. And the iPad that you have at your home, that runs on the ARM. Sounds interesting, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, dude, sure.
Want to know more about it?
Yes.
Let's find out. Come on, Arch.
Let's go.
Let's get this going.
Hey, Tilton. This sounds interesting to me. Can you help me out with this one? Because I want to issue a supplement in my forthcoming magazine.
This sounds interesting.
Yeah, dude.
Let's discuss about this. And
Yeah,
let's get
sure.
Veronica as well.
Oh, she's joining us soon, mate.
Right, let's find it out. Come
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
Hello, guys. How are you guys? Let's go to the riverside.
Yep, that sounds good. Let's go. So Betty, what were you talking about?
We were discussing about the microprocessor industry, right?
Okay, have you heard of the ARM processors?
Oh, is it ARM?
Spot on, ARM ARM.
What's that?
Oh, well, have you heard of it?
No.
Is there in everything that we use? The mobile phones, the PDAs, the iPads, even in the car, the airbag systems, the anti-lock braking systems, all of it, they run on the ARM microprocessors. Well, billions of them are made every year. To give you numbers, 90 of them are made every second in
That's
Cambridge.
unbelievable.
Exactly. Spot on. In fact, the gaming industry, it runs on the ARM. Sony, Nintendos, everything, all of them run on the ARM processors. The feature that makes the ARM processor so convenient is its low power consumption. For a given amount of electricity, it can do the maximum number of calculations compared to processors from Intel or AMD. So what makes it so efficient is fundamentally its simple and elegant designs, and it has much lesser components compared to processors from Intel or the AMD. ARM is a British company based out of Cambridge. They have a turnover of around 300 million pounds a year, and they employ around 2,000 employees worldwide. So what makes ARM so special? It's really a great innovation. The ARM architecture is truly an amazing innovation. The ARM architecture was made possible due to improvements in science and technology. The ARM architecture innovation that we just discussed can be classified into a type of innovation based on this matrix. The matrix is divided into 4 quadrants based upon whether the innovation creates new customer groups and if it creates new applications. The ARM architecture was used for already existing low-powered embedded devices like PDAs, consumer electronics, automobile subsystems, etc. So it did not create any new application. It was meant for the already existing low-end embedded market. Also, there already existed a customer group for such applications. So it was just a substitutive innovation. But it underwent incremental innovations and gradually started moving into the diffusion quadrant, finding new customer groups in the higher end of the market, where players like Intel and AMD dominated. So all of you must be aware of the Intel, aren't you?
Well, Intel.
Intel. Bum, 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 bum.
Exactly. Intel Corporation, the largest manufacturer of semiconductors and microprocessors in the world. It was founded in 1968, and by the 21st century, more than 80% of the laptops and desktops were running on an Intel. So the 8086 architecture was a truly breakthrough innovation. But recently, the prevalence of 8086 is showing signs of disruption. So what exactly is the disruptive technology?
Wait, disruptive theory, right?
Yeah.
Let me explain this to you guys. Oh, have you heard about Clayton Christensen?
No.
It was Christensen's idea that was termed as disruptive theory. According to him, that disruptive technologies are smaller, cheaper, simpler, and more convenient to use. A disruptive innovation brings to the market a product which is not as good as product in the current market, and so it cannot be sold to the mainstream users. But it's simple and it's affordable. It takes root in the undemanding portion of that market, then improves from that simple beginning to intercept with the customer's need in the mainstream later.
Christensen's theory can be explained by a simple graph. Christensen describes two types of technologies, sustaining technologies and disruptive technologies. Sustaining technologies are technologies that improve product performance. These are technologies that most large companies are familiar with. Technologies that involve improving a product that has an established role in the market. The sustaining technology progresses exponentially and overshoots the demand of the high end of the market. A disruptive technology or innovation is an innovation that disrupts an existing market. As mentioned earlier, they are generally cheaper, simpler, smaller, and frequently more convenient to use. Christensen argues that low-end disruption occurs when the rate at which products improve exceeds the rate at which customer can adopt the new performance. Therefore, at some point, the performance of the product overshoots the need of certain customer segments. At this point, a disruptive technology may enter the market and provide a product which has lower performance than the incumbent but which exceeds the requirements of the certain segment, thereby gaining a foothold in the market. Disruptive technologies, however, eventually surpass sustaining technologies in satisfying market demand with lower cost. When this happens, large companies who did not invest in the disruptive technology sooner are left behind. This, according to Christensen, is the innovator's dilemma.
Related to Intel and ARM.
Well, the latest generation of 8086 processor exceed the performance needs of the customer. That's because of the development trajectories that follows Moore's law. People are content with older generation microprocessors, so people prefer to hold on to their computers for a longer period of time. And even if they buy new ones, they prefer machines with lower performance and less expensive microprocessors. While the 8086 architecture excels on the processing power, the ARM architecture excels on energy efficiency. Any system based on ARM architecture would use around 2 watts, whereas an fully optimized Intel-based system, Intel Atom solution, would use around 5 to 6 watts. Today's ARM processors are so small that at a time around 5 can be found within a smartphone. And well, that's the key to the success of ARM and a problem for Intel.
Moore's law describes a long-term trend in the history of computing hardware. Historically, the number of transistors that can be placed inexpensively on an integrated circuit doubles approximately every 2 years. This trend has continued for more than half a century and is expected to continue until 2020 or later. The law is named after Intel co-founder Gordon E. Moore, who described the trend in his 1965 paper. The trend in the graph shows the number of instructions per second that a microprocessor can perform has exponentially increased from the 8086 to the more advanced Pentium processors over the years. Since the customer tend to become slow to adopt such rapid development, this trend has resulted in underutilization of the actual processor power in recent years. Therefore, the essence of the Moore's law is a reason for sustaining technologies like Intel to overshoot the demand of its mainstream customers.
Well, ARM since its foundation has been focusing on designing reduced instruction set chips, that is RISC, that were ideal for battery powered devices that were only used to do a limited number of tasks. By comparison, Intel built its dominance on complex instruction set chips, that is CISC. These chips are good for general purpose computers where usually energy consumption and space were not more of a problem.
Okay, Veronica, let's put all this into one perspective.
Yeah.
On one side, we have Intel's 8086 architecture,
Yeah.
which has been developing according to the Moore's law.
Yeah.
And it has been exceeding the customer's expectation.
Yes, of course.
And on another side, we have ARM's architecture, which has low power consumption. It has reduced information set.
That's RISC.
Yeah.
That is reduced instruction set.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay, and it is very minute in size.
Oh yes, it's very minute, and it has a lot of benefits over Intel.
That's interesting.
ARM's RISC processors have all the making of a disruptive technology. They were meant to be very simple devices, but then they started improving so much that they started meeting the demands of the mainstream PC customers. Intel will probably still continue to dominate the PC market, but then they would find it increasingly difficult to challenge ARM's expertise in the embedded universe.
Yeah. Intel's problem is that ARM processor designs are spreading from its heartland of mobile phones into netbook computers and computer electronic devices such as flat screen TVs, iPhones. Like phones, TVs are embedded devices, and increasingly power consumption is becoming an issue these days.
Yeah. Well, another advantage that ARM has is that it has more developers and designers than Intel has. And well, by 2013, according to Ericsson's prediction, around 70% of 3 billion or so devices that will be connected to the internet would be mobile.
Well, we have only one thing to say. Welcome to the world of ARM.
This is evidenced in part by investors' expectations for ARM's, Intel and AMD future performance in microprocessor markets.
Hey Archie, what are you doing on the laptop? What's so interesting?
I'm reading a blog. It shows because of this disruption, a new market segment is opening. Let me read for you. While 8086 is the main stage technology is in PC, but the ARM processor has gained significant market share in embedded system and mobile device market. ARM based processors are used in more than 95% of mobile phones, and the ARM architecture is now the main choice for deployment of Google Android and is the basis of Apple A4 system.
Hey, in fact, I came to know that ARM was very successful in wooing Microsoft, Intel's most trusted partner and client. So that's a huge thing, you know. Microsoft on the side of ARM is something really great, and it's a huge loss for Intel as well.
Okay.
In the emphasis part, I will let you know that ARM will capture 15% share of PC microprocessor market by 2015. So it's a very advantage side of ARM in
That's
future.
interesting.
15% of the market share in the PC.
Yeah, in 2015.
Right. Oh, that's going to
So
be huge for ARM.
Huge for
That's
ARM.
Yeah.
Hey Betty, let me tell you about the effect of large-scale disruptive attack. The 8086 architecture is supported by a massive ecosystem of suppliers, customers like Dell, and complements like Microsoft Windows. If Intel and AMD are not able to fend off ARM, and the ARM architecture does displace 8086, it would cause turbulence for a large number of companies. Microsoft's next operating system, Windows 8, will work on both Intel and ARM processors, which could draw some interest for ARM-based laptops. Chip makers like NVIDIA, Qualcomm, and Texas Instruments have announced that their ARM-based chips will run Windows 8.
Let me talk about what Intel is doing to prevent such a disruptive attack from ARM. For Intel and AMD to avoid being disrupted, they must offer customers a microprocessor with comparable or better processing power and energy efficiency relative to the ARM. The Intel Atom is a strong move in this direction, but the ARM is facing resistance in the mobile market and emerging thin device markets like the tablets and the iPads due to concerns about its energy efficiency, form factor, and price point. Intel is also ratcheting up the heat on ARM with fast advances in manufacturing technology. Intel announced a 3D transistor design that is faster and more power efficient than two-dimensional transistors used in its current chips. So Intel has taken the right step forward to counter ARM's disruptive attack. In order to survive, Intel must make use of all its resources and capabilities to avoid being pushed out of competition.
In short, the ARM architecture appears to be in the early stages of disrupting 8086, not only in the mobile and embedded systems market, but also in the PC and other higher-end markets, which are strongholds of Intel and AMD. And all this because of a very beautiful phenomenon called disruption.